Hello and welcome to the I Love Me Lab show. My name is Gail Buck, and I'm an NLP Master Life Coach, meditation instructor, and a seeker of happiness. And each week, we're going to bring you an inspiring person or message to help you discover additional ways of self-care, self-love, and becoming a healthier, happier you. So thanks for spending time with us today, and let's let the show begin. Hey there, everybody, and welcome back. So today we're going to talk about, sometimes we all have days or times during the day where we just kind of feel like garbage, right? We don't feel good. We don't feel our best. And sometimes there can be something going on in your life where that feeling becomes more chronic and more habitual. So I want to speak today with 10 surefire ways to change your perspective so that no matter what is going on in your life, no matter what you're dealing with, you're able to look at it from a different perspective and change the way you feel. And the reason that this is so important is that when we lock down into our chronic way of viewing something that's going on in your life or something that's going on around you, it can lock you into this state of unhappiness. And who wants to be unhappy, right? The truth is we all have moments, maybe even days where we're feeling unhappy about certain things, but you don't want to live in that state. Living in that state, first of all, just who wants to live there? But secondly, it also affects your health and it affects your relationships with others. Being in a happier, more fulfilled state not only keeps you physically healthier, it keeps you mentally healthier, emotionally healthier, and you're just better to be around, whether being around you with you and loving yourself more and who that person that you're hanging out with, or being around other people, right? So let's look at 10 surefire ways to change your perspective. And now, the way number one, if you're upset about circumstances going on with another person, for example, changing your perspective, and I'm not going to use the word try because, I don't know if anybody here has attended Tony Robbins' event, but Tony will always do this kind of game like try to pick up the pen, right? You don't pick up a pen or pick up a chair. You either do it or you don't. So I'm going to challenge you to do it. And so look at things from the other person's perspective. And this can be a challenging exercise when you first start doing this, especially if you're in, a lot of conflict with what the other person is saying. But look at things from their perspective and keep in mind that our communication model, that's kind of an NLP term, the way that we look at things, that we filter our life experience through our mind, meaning we all have different life experiences, and these experiences are filtered through different emotions and perceptions of what has occurred, right? We all have different filters. So, you and I can attend the same event and have a whole different story and whole different feelings to talk about it later. So keeping that in mind, that the person that perhaps you're in conflict with has completely different filters than you do. So really seeking to look at it from the other person's perspective, which is going to broaden your awareness of whatever that situation is. So that's number one on shifting your perspective. So you don't get so locked down in that and stay in your habitual state. The second thing is to ask yourself, what else might be happening here? So whether this is with another person or this is, an occurrence that's happening, what else is going on here? I can share an example, a personal example. My father passed away about 4 years ago, and I stayed with my mom for a while. And I'm a person that I just believe sleep is so important, right? And so I have a sister who would call my mom at really early hours in the morning and calling her late at night and get on the phone with my mom. And I asked my sister to watch the time. We're in different time zones, to watch the time because she was not allowing my mom to sleep. Well, from my perspective, my sister was being selfish, not allowing my mom to get the sleep that she needed. From my sister's perspective, and my sister got very upset with me because in her her mind, she thought I was being very controlling and I was trying to control my mom. And it wasn't only until I realized, and I did this exercise about asking what else might be happening here, that I realized the way I show love, one of the ways I show love is that I like to nurture and I like to care for the way I nurture is making sure people have like good food to eat and they're getting enough sleep and a little bit enabling or maybe a lot of enabling, but taking care of those kind of things. And the way my sister shows love and my sister nurtures is by having great communication and a lot of communication, right? So she's showing my mother love by calling her all the time and talking to her and having her conversations and engaging. And it wasn't until I really reflected on what else could be happening here. Well, this is how my sister's showing my mom love. This is how she expresses her love. It's just different from mine. It's so that actually encompasses step number 1 and step number 2. It's a different perspective, right? It's a different way that we filter things and a different way that we show our love. So when you allow yourself to ask yourself, and really explore what else could be happening here. How might that other person be experiencing what's going on? You're able to kind of grow your perception box, if you will. Another step number 3 is to look at the bigger picture. So in changing our perspective, a lot of us, most of us, can lock into a thought or an idea and we just stay. Just look at the political conversations that go on. We stay in such a confined box of what this is that we're not seeing that this is such a small, whatever it is such a small piece of a much bigger puzzle. And so there's an exercise that I like to do that I imagine like I'm a bird or a jet plane and you fly way, way up and go as high as you need to go and look down at yourself, look down at what's going on around you and go even higher so that that picture keeps expanding and expanding and making whatever the circumstance, situation, conversation that's going on be very small in the larger picture. So thinking of the bigger overall picture of what's going on here can be a game changer in your perspective, right? Does that make sense? So we're not honing in on that little tiny detail that's driving us crazy. Step number 4 is move. I think you hear this in any kind of podcast or conversation that you have, is get some exercise, move, do some stretching, do some yoga, walk. Do whatever you have to do so that you're moving your body. Because when we're in a feeling that's not beneficial for us, when we're in a chronic negative state, it's very possible that you're sitting and you're not moving and you're not engaging your body. You're not letting that energy flow. So making it a conscious point to get up and move every day. It doesn't have to be strenuous exercise if that's not what you want to do. If it is, great. But definitely get up and have some movement so that you have the energy flowing in your body and it's not stuck. Step number 5, pay it forward. Think about, what can I do today that's good for somebody else and has really nothing to do with me? It's just all about something else. It's not about my ego. It's just helping somebody else. That can be something as simple as opening the door for somebody if you're going into the grocery store, or, paying, maybe the person behind you has just a couple things they're buying and it's not financially, it's not any kind of a burden to you. Buy them their groceries, or the you're going through the toll. Maybe you treat the person behind you. There's so many things. It doesn't have to be financial things. Just telling somebody that you're seeing, on the street, oh my gosh, you look so nice today. Or I love your hair. I love your, whatever it is. Making somebody feel good, giving them a moment of brightness is going to give you a moment of brightness in return. Step number 6, gratitude. And I know this is one that we hear often as well. How often we all practice it really varies. And so when I speak about gratitude, I don't mean make a list of 10 things, or if you want to, that's great, making a list of things that you're grateful for, but really being conscious of what that is. I've worked with people and we'll talk about gratitude and they'll make the list of things they're grateful for. And I've I've discovered that sometimes that's true and sometimes it's going through the mechanics of what you believe you should be grateful for. And we're going to talk about the shoulds in a minute. Really thinking about what you're grateful for. I've been blessed up till this moment, and I'm knocking on wood all over the place because I do understand it's a blessing with really great health. And so when things get really tough for me, and they do, and I think about, okay, what am I grateful for? I'm grateful for my health. You know, I'm going to be turning 65 pretty soon, and I'm very strong and I'm very healthy, and I'm so grateful for that. And also, I like my hair. I like my white long hair. And so just thinking about what am I happy with and what am I grateful for, and allowing yourself to focus on that will do wonders in alleviating any other negative thoughts you're going to have. It gives you a break from that negative pattern thinking. Step number 7, I talk about all the time, is get enough sleep. And sometimes that means maybe going to bed earlier, or, you know, getting up a little later and taking naps throughout the day. But finding time to quiet your mind and quiet your body and get enough rest. Me personally, I find that when I'm really tired, I'm more emotional and I'm more irritable. And quite frankly, I find that with my clients as well. Sometimes if somebody's really stuck in a negative mood, you can see in their face. And one of the first things I ask them is, if we had, you know, how has your rest been this week? And very oftentimes the response is they haven't slept because they're worrying. And then we have something to work on, right? What are some skills and what are some things that we can implement to relax your mind during bedtime? Whether it's meditation or journaling or breathing, breath work, or maybe solving a problem that we think is really big and it's not really that big and we can solve it. But definitely finding ways to incorporate and appreciate getting enough rest for your mind and for your body is so very important. Step number 8 is write down your negative thoughts. Now, there have been scientific studies to support that taking these thoughts out of your head and putting them down on paper, and maybe writing them multiple times, and taking that piece of paper and tearing it up or burning it or doing away with it, is extremely helpful. And a practice that I use at nighttime, for example, if I have something that's going on in my life that's causing me concern, it's causing me worry, and, you know, I'm doing everything I can to, you know, look at another person's perspective and, you know, what else might be happening. And there's still stuff that's kind of, you know, you're toiling through. Sometimes it takes a couple days to work those things out. I make it a practice to keep a pad of paper and a pen next to my bedside, and I always recommend that for my clients. And if you find that your mind is racing when you lay your head on your pillow at night, take a few minutes to, if you want to journal. If you just, for me, it's making bullets of, you know, I'm worried because I haven't heard from my son for a few days, you know, so I put that down. Or I'm worried about, you know, whatever the case might be, you know, and really putting down bullets, because when you lay your head down at night, chances are, whatever the circumstance is, there's nothing you can do about it at that time. I mean, if there is, then go ahead and do it. But if there's not, then allow yourself to have permission to put the things down on paper. And by putting them down on paper, by writing them down, that gives you permission to pick it up again in the morning if that's what you want to do. You know, oftentimes we don't let go of our negative thoughts because we feel there's something that we need to do to take care of that problem. And if we're not worrying about it, we're going to forget, or the problem's going to grow. So if you put it down on a piece of paper, it allows you to, you know, visually imagine, I'm taking it out of my head, I'm going to put it here, it's nice and safe. If I want to start working on that in the morning or pick up my worry about that in the morning, I can do so. It's right here. It's right here. And so that is extremely valuable. And then allowing yourself to have thoughts that are going to make you smile, you know, and they're going to make you feel good at night. You know, for me, writing down the thoughts, especially at night, and I have a rule that when I'm in my bed, only nice things happen in my bed. whether I'm by myself or with somebody else, but there's only good conversations, good thoughts, good things are happening. It's like this little island of peace. I don't allow any negative thoughts to come into my bed and that time that I have in the bed. Now we're going to come to 9 and 10, which are similar, but there's a great distinction. And it's about the word should. So Tony Robbins always says that we need to stop shoulding all over ourselves. And he's absolutely right. And there's the way I look at should is like this, almost like this cloak. And we're going to talk about that in a second. I'm going to, bookmark that for a second. But first you have the shoulds about I should be doing this or I shouldn't be doing that, right? Well, if you should be doing something and you aren't, rather still, why do you think I should? Who says I should? Or is it, if I do this, it's going to bring me something that I haven't achieved or I haven't obtained if I take these steps? Like maybe I should work out every day to lose these 10 pounds or to feel better, but you're choosing not to. So how about just getting to acceptance that right now, yes, it would be beneficial for me to do this. And why is it beneficial for me to do this? And if I still make the choice to do this or not do this, it's my choice. And so I'm going to accept what I'm choosing to do at this moment. Does that make sense? Instead of having on top of everything else, instead of having the guilt about this is what I should be doing because I'm not doing it anyway, asking myself, why do I feel I should? Who says, first of all? And secondly, why am I doing it or why am I not doing it? And then allow yourself the grace to accept where you are at that very moment. And then step number 10 is also should, but this one is a big one for me. So eliminate the shoulds in your life in that your life should be a certain way. And, as anybody who listens to my podcast or knows me, you know that I have a son with drug addiction. And there's a lot of, suffering around that space and a lot of challenges around that space, as well as in earlier podcasts, like with Gary Mindell from Shatterproof or, Michael Speakman, who's a counselor, Shelley Young, who's another counselor. There's a lot of shame and judgment around that space. And I think there's shame from others, but there's also shame that we put on ourselves. And that can be in lots of different circumstances in life. And so if you explore to yourself, well, it's because this shouldn't be happening in my family, or where I should be is, living in this house with a white picket fence, or whatever the case might be, whatever you think it should be. First of all, who says that it should be like that? Somewhere in society, somewhere in those filters that we talked about earlier, the way we filter, our stories in our life, in our mind, the NLP communication model. But who says it should be like that? And when you get to a point of acceptance of that doesn't mean, I don't maybe want things to be differently and I'm working for towards things to be differently, but really accepting right now, this is where I am. Right now, this is my life. I'm going to work towards changing this portion of it or not changing this portion of it. But acceptance is huge, that this is where I am right now. Once you reach acceptance and get rid of the shoulds, as far as my life should be this or should be that, or I should be doing this or I should be doing that, when you can get rid of it, look at that. Like imagine that the word should was this big, heavy coat, right? Because should carries guilt. It can carry shame. It can carry anxiety. It can carry all these negative feelings. It can carry anger. It can carry fear. I mean, think about your should coat. What emotions does your should coat carry for you? And I challenge you to think about that if everything isn't exactly the way you want it. And so the first step is taking that should coat and taking it off. In fact, do that right now. Just take it off. And don't you feel lighter? Because there's no should. There just is, right? And so there's reaching acceptance as what is. And whatever it is absolutely beautiful at this moment. Whatever it is absolutely beautiful at this moment. Those are my 10 surefire ways to change your perspective. I would love it if you would leave your comments below and let me know if this was helpful for you. Let me know if you can think of other ways that are good, surefire ways that we can add to a subsequent podcast and talk about other ways to help us love ourselves more and, do a lot of self-care and take care of ourselves so that we can love bigger and better and in turn love others bigger and better too. And with that, I'm going to say goodbye. Thank you so much for joining me. I love you guys and hope to see you next week. Leave comments below. Let me know if you like this type of podcast or if you'd like us to focus on other topics. Bye-bye. Hey there. Today's episode is being sponsored by me. I'm Gail Buck, and a certified life coach, and I am offering to the first 3 people that text me a 30-minute free coaching call. And if you're interested, go ahead and text to 281-432-8509. Text Hey Coach. Again, that's Hey Coach to 281-432-8509. And that's a free 30-minute coaching session to the first 3 people that text in. See you on Zoom. Thanks so much for listening to this conversation. If you enjoyed it and want more information on our guests and resources, please visit ilovemelab.com. And please, if you enjoyed this episode, remember to subscribe and share with a friend. Hey, there's more great episodes to come. So until next time.